Okay, so how do you do this Agile retirement management? Well, at the core of Agile retirement management is establishing a regular cadence of little conversations. So in Agile retirement management, we call those huddles. So I'm going to show you or talk to you about how to do a huddle today, but what I want to do first is make sure that you set the proper foundation to be able to have productive little conversation. So before you can get into this regular cadence of huddles, there are three things you need to do. And this is very similar to traditional planning. Number one is figure out what you're trying to accomplish, not just today in your life, but in your retirement. I don't want you to make a mistake that I see all the time, and I think it's caused by the old way, this rigid retirement planning, this math approach, which is to negotiate away your life before you realize what is possible. What I want you to do in this step is I really want you to dream up what your ideal retirement could be. That may sound totally foreign to you, and it does to most people because it's hard. It's hard to think big because we just want to be reasonable. We think we're supposed to be reasonable. There'll be time for being reasonable later on, but in this initial step, what I want you to do is think of, okay, what if you could have it all? Regardless of what resources you have, what would that ideal life be? That's a little intimidating for people, so this is going to be a little bit of a stretch for you. And the way you do that is you establish what your basic needs are in retirement. And then you think of, okay, what are the wants that I want in life? What's the spice I want to have to that basic lifestyle? And then you look at, okay, what are those aspirational things? Man, if I could have it all, this is what I would do. And I want you to go through that framework of needs, wants, and wishes. And I have a great resource that will help spur some creativity for you to be able to do this. The second thing you need to do is you need to know what your cash flow is. You need to understand what income you have right now to help provide and work towards this great life. And you need to know what income you're going to have later on in life, whether that's Social Security, pensions, or part-time work. And then, you're going to need to know what you're spending. You're going to need to know what your lifestyle costs. And I'm hesitant to say the B word, the budget word, because I don't like to budget, because I don't want to be a bookkeeper of my life. But you need to know what you're spending. And I have a great resource to help you figure that out without having to become a bookkeeper of your life. But you need to know what that cash flow situation looks like. And then lastly, what you need to do is you need to have a net worth statement. So a net worth statement is actually very simple. It is on one side of a piece of paper, all the assets that you have. And on the other side of the piece of paper, it is all of the liabilities or the debt that you have. And your net worth statement is a critical document to helping you have successful huddles because it shows you the resources you have to marshal to create this ideal life that you've come up with. Once you've done this foundational work, now you're ready to have your first huddle. So how does a huddle work? Okay, there are four basic elements of a huddle. The first is to assess where you're at right now. So as you're iterating, you always want to look at, okay, where am I relative to where I was? You're going to look at your life. What is the life that we say we want to create? You're going to look at your cash flow. Where is the cash flow right now? Because that's always going to change. And you're going to look at your net worth statement because that's always going to change based on saving and investing in markets and other things. Number two is, first you want to identify risks and opportunities in each one of those areas. What are the risks and opportunities in your life? What are the risks and opportunities in your income or in your spending? And then on your net worth statement, what are the risks and opportunities there? And once you've assessed those, now this is where you need to get creative. You need to challenge all of the assumptions that you're operating under. Whether it's like Bill and Margaret, that they're going to stay in their house forever. Whether it's Tom, who is going to work for the next 6 years. You need to challenge all of the assumptions that you're basing your decisions on. And it's best to do this in a collaborative way because then you get more voices in the room and more perspectives. The third thing you need to do is take all those risks and challenges that you've identified and prioritize them. Which ones are important right now? Maybe it's your income that's important right now. Maybe that's a hot item that you need to figure out, how do I increase my income now? Or like Tom, how do I increase my income later on so it can buy me something that I care about more right now? Or maybe it's budgeting. Maybe there's a risk there that you're spending too much on certain things, or maybe there's some opportunities that you can take advantage of to streamline your budgeting. But the key is you want to start prioritizing which ones are most important now. That way you can take little baby steps to take action on the ones that really can move the dial for you. And then lastly, once you've reassessed where you are, once you've challenged all those assumptions and identified risks and opportunities, and once you prioritize what's hot and cold, you want to establish your next action steps. I call them SMART sprints. So SMART is an acronym that's very popular. It's specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time-bound. And I have a resource for you to set a SMART sprint. And sprint means it's no longer than 90 days. So the idea is you take these risks and opportunities, you choose which ones are important that you think can move the dial, and then you set a SMART sprint to take action on them over the next 90 days. And then you set a plan to do that, and then you keep doing that huddle after huddle. And the exciting thing about Agile retirement management is it puts to the side all of the intimidating things that happen when we think about planning for the future and finances and trying to figure it all out. And it puts front and center just taking little bite-sized pieces and taking action in the here and now so we can create the life that we want. So the key is you don't have to figure it all out. You can't figure it all out. But what you can do is be intentional about taking little action steps to create the life that you want. Okay, so how do you establish this regular cadence of huddles that we're talking about? And how often should you have them? In my practice, I have huddles with clients every 90 days. Generally throughout a year time frame, we'll have 2 bigger huddles, semi-annually, where we'll really deep dive and try to get creative on things. And then we'll have smaller huddles on the off quarters where we really check in on how we're doing on the SMART sprints so we can take iterative action. And the other cool thing, once you get into this rhythm of huddles, when life happens, and life always happens, because you're being so agile and you have this regular cadence, you can have on-demand decision analysis and already have a lot of the work done so you can focus on the problem rather than trying to get caught up on where things are at. So now the choice is yours. Do you stick with a traditional method that's going to limit the choices and ultimately limit your life? Or do you embrace this agile retirement management process? I've created the resources to do the foundational work to allow you to take back power and start working towards creating a great life.